Trenching and excavation safety is critical because these operations can be hazardous, and there's a high risk of cave-ins or other incidents. Ensuring workers' safety during these activities involves understanding and implementing specific safety protocols. Here are key safety guidelines to follow. Before starting any excavation work, assess the area for potential hazards such as nearby utilities, traffic, or unstable ground. Ensure all necessary permits and approvals are obtained, particularly when working near underground utilities or in public areas. Mark the excavation area and establish safe zones around the site where workers are not exposed to potential hazards like falling debris or machinery. Trenches over 5 feet deep must have proper shoring, shielding, or other protective systems such as trench boxes or hydraulic shores to prevent cave-ins. Trenches should be sloped at a safe angle depending on the type of soil. Generally, a 45-degree angle is used for stable soils, but a less steep slope may be necessary for weaker soils. For certain soil types, benching, which involves cutting steps into the trench wall, can be used as an alternative to sloping or shoring. Soil types and stability. Before excavation, test the soil to determine its type, for example, gravel, clay, or sand, to assess stability, and decide on appropriate protective measures. Maintain a safe distance between the edge of the excavation and any spoils, equipment, or materials to avoid collapse or shifting. Excavation depth. For excavations deeper than 5 feet, additional safety measures are required, such as shoring or trench boxes. If the trench reaches depths over 20 feet, special engineering methods may be necessary to ensure stability. Access and egress. Provide safe access and egress from the trench for workers. Ladders or ramps should be placed within 25 feet of workers in the trench to allow for quick escape in case of emergency. Ensure access routes are clear of debris and equipment. Heavy rain or wet conditions can increase the risk of trench collapse. Do not enter a trench during storms or if the soil is saturated. Frozen ground may create unstable conditions. Always assess soil stability before proceeding. A qualified, competent person should inspect the trench daily before work begins and after any change in weather or site conditions. Ensure inspections cover the condition of trench walls, safety systems, equipment, and access routes. Workers should wear appropriate PPE such as hard hats, steel-toed boots, gloves, and high-visibility vests. Use fall protection if there is a risk of workers falling into the trench, particularly in deeper excavations. In confined spaces, test for hazardous gases, low oxygen levels, or toxic fumes, particularly if working near sewage lines, gas pipes, or areas where chemicals are present. Use proper ventilation systems to keep air circulating and reduce the risk of suffocation or poisoning. Excavators and other heavy equipment should be operated by trained and qualified personnel. Keep the machinery clear of the excavation's edge to avoid accidents. Be aware of overhead hazards like power lines or structures that could be struck by equipment during excavation work. Develop and communicate a rescue plan for workers who may be trapped in a trench. Ensure that workers are trained in how to respond to emergency situations. Keep first aid kits and emergency supplies nearby. Workers should also be trained in basic first aid and CPR. By following these safety measures, you can greatly reduce the risk of accidents and fatalities in trenching and excavation operations.